When a CEO who built a thriving multi-million-dollar car dealership empire decides to go undercover at one of his own stores, the results are nothing short of shocking. What follows is a tale of betrayal, unsettling revelations, and a heart-wrenching series of events that challenge everything we think we know about business, leadership, and integrity. This is the story of Adam, the CEO of Best Motors, and the painful truths he uncovered on a fateful undercover mission. Adam, the founder of Best Motors, had come a long way since his humble beginnings. He had started the company in a small, struggling garage with barely enough money to cover rent. Over the years, Adam worked tirelessly to build a business that not only survived but thrived, eventually turning it into one of the most successful and well-known car dealership chains in the country. Thousands of customers trusted Best Motors for their automotive needs, and hundreds of employees worked under his leadership. However, as the years passed, Adam began to feel disconnected from the core of his business. He had become so entrenched in the larger operations and financial aspects of the company that he was no longer in touch with what was happening at the ground level. The day-to-day activities, the employee culture, and most importantly, how customers were being treated. Adam had heard stories of other CEOs going undercover in their own companies to see how things were truly operating, and many of these stories painted a grim picture. They often involved corruption, dishonesty, and greed, with employees lying to customers and turning a blind eye to unethical behavior. Despite these troubling accounts, Adam believed that his company was different. He prided himself on building a company culture that was supportive, transparent, and rooted in integrity. He didn't think his employees would be engaging in any form of deception, but something in his gut told him it was time to check for himself. With this in mind, Adam devised a plan to go undercover. He would disguise himself as a regular customer and visit one of Best Motors' busiest locations, a large dealership in Atlanta. He chose this particular store because it was known for its high sales volume, and he wanted to get a real sense of how things were operating on the front lines. Adam carefully crafted his disguise: a faded jacket, worn jeans, and a baseball cap that concealed his typically neat hair. He also chose a new name: Tom, a middle-aged contractor who was in the market for a durable truck to handle heavy work. As he walked through the dealership doors, the cool air conditioning and the distinct smell of new leather and fresh paint immediately hit him. The showroom was busy, with salespeople speaking with potential buyers and the sound of the occasional car engine starting up. Despite the energy in the air, Adam couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. His company had come so far, but he quickly reminded himself that this wasn't a moment for pride. It was a moment for truth. Adam was greeted by Mike, a tall and lean salesman with an eager smile. Mike seemed friendly, but Adam knew better than to judge a person by their first impression. Mike asked how he could help, and Adam casually responded that he was looking for a new truck, specifically one that could handle the heavy demands of his contracting business. Mike's eyes lit up at the mention of the word contractor, and he immediately began guiding Adam toward the dealership's top models. He introduced Adam to the Titan X, a truck touted for its impressive towing capacity, safety ratings, and long-lasting engine. As Mike went through the pitch, Adam listened attentively, playing the role of a potential customer. But then, without warning, Mike leaned in closer and whispered a startling confession. "You know," Mike said in a lowered voice, "the Titan X isn't all it's cracked up to be. Sure, it looks great on paper, but there are issues with the transmission, and the engine overheats if you push it too hard. The fuel efficiency isn't nearly as good as they advertise. But don't tell anyone that," Mike added with a chuckle. "I wouldn't want to lose a sale." Adam's stomach dropped. He was hearing a salesman actively lie to a potential customer about the very product he was selling, something that went against everything he believed in. In that moment, Adam realized that the integrity of his company was at risk. He had worked so hard to build a brand based on trust and honesty, but now that foundation seemed to be crumbling before his eyes. Mike went on to suggest other models, but Adam's mind was racing. Was this just a one-off incident, or was something more sinister at play? He decided to continue observing. The more time Adam spent at the dealership, the more unsettling behaviors he witnessed. Another salesman, Carl, was engaged in a conversation with a young couple, assuring them that they were getting the best deal possible. As Carl leaned over a car's hood, He made false claims about the vehicle's warranty, telling the couple that it covered everything for life, including the engine and transmission. In reality, the car only came with a standard 3-year limited warranty, with no lifetime coverage and no free services included. As Adam watched this manipulation unfold, it became clear that the culture of dishonesty at Best Motors was more widespread than he had initially thought. It wasn't just one bad employee, it was a systemic issue. Employees were using deceptive tactics to make sales, manipulating customers into thinking they were getting deals that didn't actually exist. Adam was horrified. What had happened to the company he had built? How had dishonesty become the norm? Adam was no longer just a passive observer. He was the CEO of this company, and he knew he had to take action. He confronted Mike privately in an office and demanded an explanation for the lies. Mike's initial reaction was one of confusion, but when Adam confronted him with the truth, Mike admitted that lying to customers was part of the strategy. He claimed that people wanted to hear what they wanted to hear, and sometimes to close a sale, it was necessary to bend the truth. Adam was stunned. This wasn't just one bad apple. It was a culture of dishonesty that had taken root throughout the company. He realized that the company's success had allowed it to grow without the necessary oversight and accountability. Now, it was time to fix things. In the weeks that followed, Adam ordered a full investigation into every dealership in the chain. The findings were even worse than he had feared. Numerous salespeople had been using similar deceptive tactics. Not only was the company's reputation at stake, but its customers had been emotionally manipulated into making purchases based on lies. Determined to restore Best Motors to its former integrity, Adam made the difficult decision to fire Mike, Carl, and others involved in the dishonest practices. He introduced new training programs focused on honesty, transparency, and a customer-first approach. He knew that rebuilding the company's reputation would take time, but it was the only way forward. As Adam worked to change the culture at Best Motors, he realized a painful but valuable lesson. No matter how successful a company becomes, integrity must always be a top priority. Leadership isn't just about driving profits. It's about maintaining the core values that made the company successful in the first place. With a renewed commitment to doing business the right way, Adam set his sights on rebuilding Best Motors from the ground up. Slowly but surely, the company began to regain its footing, this time with honesty, integrity, and transparency at its core. Through this difficult journey, Adam learned that greatness doesn't come from profits or market share alone. It begins with unwavering principles, and it's a lesson he will never forget.